Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Finale, and this is Real Estate Talk, TGIF, episode 378. And I believe it is 373 weeks in a row. I had 2 down. That was last week. But we've been doing this thing for over 7 years. The gentleman today is Mr. Jay Kinder. Man, this is your 3rd time on, by the way. Yes, 3, by the way. And I'm so glad to have you here, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man. Love it.
This is going to be great. Nelson, hit the video. We know all real estate agents want to acquire clients consistently so that they can grow their business and income for that great lifestyle. This broadcast brings you the best and top people in the industry to support that quest. This is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and Align, your premier real estate solution. All right, man, here we are. Real Estate Talk, TGIF, episode 378, 373 weeks in a row. We've got Jay Kinder. Jay, you and I first met, probably about 6 years ago in an office in Teaneck, New Jersey with somebody else. Really quickly. I had seen you for a while. I actually was in NAEA for a while and didn't do my shit. And I think I actually ran into you and Michael at an Inman conference once to say hello. But man, I've been, you have always been that great person to push people, to talk people, to help people, So as I go on, let me go through this quick info. So today's program, we got a guy, Jay Kinder, has dominated his market with radio ads, billboards, guarantees bold enough to make his competitors sweat, to building one of the largest agent networks in the country in eXp Realty. He's a recruiter, coach, and now he's rewriting the playbook on AI, helping agents grow their business. He's been making the phone ring for decades. He's teaching agents how to do the same thing that he does over and over again, building a network. And this is one guy that cannot sit still. My friend, Jay Kinder. Welcome, man.
What's going on, Dave? It's good to be here, man. It's always a pleasure to be on your show, my friend.
Thanks so much for coming on. This is really cool. Anyway, man, so we got a lot to talk about in a short little time. But the first question is always the same question. What does TGIF stand for?
Thank God it's Friday.
This is your 3rd time. I figured you'd know this by now, but you got it wrong again, dude. Shit. Thank God it's finale. I mean, let's get this right next time.
Right. I will not get that wrong next time. Thank God it's finale.
All right, let's go, man. So, Jay, as I said, you've done all this stuff. You sold over 500 homes a year for many years. You've done all that. Your journey in real estate and getting there and not knowing what to do. That's the key, I think, that you bring everything through, because, one of your videos I see is, when you got in this real estate business, nobody told you what to do. They said, figure it out. Right.
Yep.
Over the past few years, you've reinvented what you do and how you do it because of a certain platform change, et cetera. Talk to me about, you've been one of the top recruiters in eXp. You've been a top agent attractor, and you don't attract just to give shit. You attract to help people.
Yeah.
So if you go from that point to what you're doing today, talk to me about that and your journey.
Yeah, man. I think everybody, that resonates with everyone, right? Like, you get your real estate license and then it's just like, okay, well, now you just get to figure it out. And, I had to go through that journey, and, I was very tenacious as a young boy, so, I tried really hard to figure it out. I went to every event. I bought every ticket. There's nobody that I didn't pay, coaching, all that stuff along the way. And, once I, finally had started having success, I was like, man, it really shouldn't have been that hard. Why would people not help agents get customers? And so, I became enamored with that. And once I shifted to learning how to spend money in marketing, and the phone would ring with people that wanted to do business with me, I was like, oh, this is way better than, cold calling and doing all the things, open house every Sunday. I probably did open house every Sunday for 7 years. I just was doing whatever they told me to do. Oh, you want me to sit on floor time? Okay, I'll do that whatever it took. But, once I learned marketing, the game changed. The game completely changed. And that was, something that I found was the shortcut for people to grow their business. And, the story, my good friend Mike Reese gets in the business. Happy birthday to Mike tomorrow. His birthday is the same day as my mom's tomorrow. And he called me and he's like, man, tell me tell me about real estate. Tell me how you did it. Da, da, da. And looking back, I was like, well, I don't know how the hell I got here. I did this, that, bunch of stuff that didn't work, along the way. There wasn't like some clear path.
Right.
But because he was brand new, I was able to say, no, man, get this website. I'm generating 300 leads a month from this. No, don't buy that. No, don't do this. And so he built his business to $1 million in GCI, and he did it in 3 years where it took me 6. And so, from there, it was like, okay, well, there is a right things in the right order to building the business. And we became dispassionate about helping people that were hungry out there trying to figure it out, not have to figure it out the hard way. And so that's kind of the journey. It's led to being at EXP, obviously. And, I just wake up every day trying to make people's lives easier. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just know that it doesn't have to be this hard. And if I can help in any way, shape, or form, I want to put systems in place to get fast track you to close more deals. And I'll tell you something funny, Dave. So, you don't know this. I don't think very many people, I might have said this a couple times on a couple different calls, but like the intensity that I try to solve the problem of getting an agent from 0 to closing a transaction is an intensity that probably no one else has ever had to do or would have had to done. But think about it this way. We have, 7 levels to unlock. And at one point we had to have 40 agents. And so any agent, think about it, any agent in my front line at EXP could have been worth to me $138,000 a month. And so when I went to solve the problem of how do I get an agent from day one to their first closing, I was solving it at a level of intensity that person might be worth $138,000 a month, because if I ever dropped below 40, that's what it would have cost me. And so I think that intensity with trying to, okay, whatever I've got to do to get you to your first closing and then start closing deals consistently, was just a level of intent. It wasn't the same as me trying to help an agent on my team close a deal. That, I might make a couple grand on that. That's great. I'll do whatever I can do. But when you have a problem that big, you look at it differently, because it's that much more valuable. And so, we really approached this 2-3 years ago with the intensity that, hey, I don't care who you are. How do I get you closing deals, and how do I do it as quickly as possible? And that was kind of how all this was born.
Yeah. So I want everybody to understand, who will watch this now, who will watch it later, is that, yes. Okay. So this is not an EXP broadcast. This is just 2 guys that are in that company that know how to work together. And we're not even like, we don't benefit each other right now. Right.
No, right.
We are here because we believe the collaboration over competition. But the thing that you've always done, Jay, is you've always tried to get people to grow their business. Now, becoming a great agent attraction was the outside goal, but you couldn't do that. As you just said, in another way, you couldn't do that without getting agents to produce, right? So the whole point of what you've done is being a giver, and you have to get this first, and they had to be successful first in order for you to benefit, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so, there's no way I can win without you winning, and I don't like to lose, so we're going to win. Like, that's basically what it boils down to. And this whole journey has been absolutely fascinating. But I get to wake up every day. I mean, to me, I was never joining another brokerage. There was no way. I had paid my dues. I didn't need to join a broker. It wasn't even on my radar. The answer was no before the question was even asked, until I understood the model. And then it was different. I was like, okay, well, this is truly better for agents. And if it allows me to make a bigger impact on more people's lives by being on this platform of EXP, then why would I not be here too? And so, waking up every day, everybody's trying to get in your pocket. Everybody's trying to sell you something. I bought it all. Everybody's, experienced that. And now I get to help people, and I don't have to ask for it. I don't have to take a credit card, and that's, for me, that's just fulfilling. It's what I wake up every day and I'm excited to do, because I'm like, cool, man, what are you trying to do? Let me help you. And that's just, it's a blessing, it's a beautiful thing.
Right. And that's really the most important thing is where you've got to help someone to get to where you want to get. So let's get down to it, right, man? So one of the things that you've always said, and I think you were the first person I heard say it, as I've been in this business a long time, broker owner for a long time. I was a member of NAEA, as I told you before, but I really didn't do what I was supposed to do. So I didn't see the benefit. That's my fault, right? But you've always said it's not the best real estate agent that's going to be successful. It's the best marketer, right? And I heard, and listening to a lot of different things over the last couple of weeks with you is, again, you may be a great agent. It doesn't mean you're going to do the best. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, man. I mean, there was agents that I'll never forget. I went to an event and I didn't have huge goals when I got in the business. I think I set a goal of making like $50,000 a year. I didn't know what was possible. Then I sat at an event next to a guy. I sat next to him the whole time. I talked to the guy on the other side of me, the whole time. I never really talked to this guy. He gets up at the mic at the end and it's like, yeah, I sold 400 and something houses. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, what? How is that even possible? Like, it just stretched my mind so far. I was like, those numbers didn't even make sense to me. And so you get around people and you see that they're having success and that they, I look at it as like, this dude's a human. I'm a human. I mean, if he can do it, it can be done. So what the heck did he do? And you start seeing the evidence that people that understand marketing are the ones that are doing the best. And so, once you can get the phone to ring with people that are predisposed to want to do business with you, this is a lot more fun of a game. Like, I don't like to chase anybody. I'm not going to chase business. I want people to come to me seeing the value I bring to the table. And you can do that through marketing. And that's what, it took me years to learn, but once I learned that, then that you can turn that faucet on and, now you're attracting business, you're not chasing. And that's the switch that, if you can get to that point, and anybody can do it, it's simple, not easy. Right. I think there's a million ways to do it wrong. And I've probably done almost a million of the ways to do it wrong. And, you spend money and you learn, lessons bought or lessons taught. Right. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the game. That's the game you're playing. If you don't understand how to get customers, everybody loves repeat referral business. It is the best kind of business you can get. But it's not very predictable. You don't know when it's going to happen. So if you want to have predictability and consistency in the business, then you got to learn how to turn strangers into a customer. And that's, that can be done a number of ways. And that's I think real estate is just one of those businesses where you're more likely to die of indigestion than starvation. There's a million things you can go do. Which one's the right thing in the right order is always the biggest challenge. But you can prospect, you can do open houses, but all of this boils down to, am I increasing the conversations per day I'm having with people that want to buy and sell and are open to doing business with me? That is the metric that determines whether you sell more real estate or less real estate. And so that's the problem that we have to solve. And the easiest, fastest way to do that with the least amount of friction is through marketing.
So you're saying that making 200 cold calls a day is not really the most advantageous way to get business? If I'm dead broke and I parachute into a new marketplace, I'm picking up the phone, what is it? The billionaire or whatever show or whatever, if you drop me with no money into a marketplace, the one thing I do have is skills that I can use on the phone. So I'm going to hit the phones. But if I have a choice and I got a little bit of money, I'm going to start with marketing because I know I can be more productive. I don't need to. It's like, you could mail an entire neighborhood, but if there's 1,000 homes, you got to mail 1,000 people, and maybe only 5% of those homes are going to turn over. So you're mailing a whole lot of people to get to a few. It's the same thing with cold calling. You're going to call a whole bunch of people. Like, I loved calling FSBOs and expires because 100% of them were selling. So right.
I have a pretty good chance of eventually getting business because every single one of those people I know at one point want to sell their house. And so, there's certain things I think that you should make calls to, but, just starting with, a neighborhood and calling everybody in the neighborhood, that's the hardest way, longest way. It's not the most efficient. And so I want things that are efficient. If I can generate 100 leads for $300 and talk to, 30% of those people and turn 3 of those into a sale, well, I'm going to spend that money I'm going to do it as many times as I can. Right. That's just a shortcut to success. And most people, they don't look at it that way, but that is the fastest way to grow a business. Who wouldn't trade $300 for 15 grand on a commission, right? Well, I'd do that for sure. Well, there's a process. How many did you speak to? There's metrics that I've just seen play out, and every lead source, every agent no matter who it is, the numbers play out to be you can spend $300 and make 15 to 30 grand on if your average commission is 15 grand. I'm using that as an average, but
right.
It's just it's a numbers game. And so, and the better you get at marketing, the easier this becomes. And that's, that's really the fun, to me, it's fun. It's a game. It's a game you can play and win.
So let's talk about the marketing. We've talked about that. We've hit that. That's what we're talking about now. And so there's a million ways, as you say, to do it wrong. And when people are doing marketing, the most familiar thing we see is, I'm this and I'm that. And, everybody's number one. I could go there, and I just did. But, so talk to me about what we're talking to and what that actually means and why it's wrong or why it's right and what is right.
Well, just to give an example. So, everything comes down to the metrics in the funnel. There's a book that's called The Goal by Elliot Goldratt. And this book it's a thick book, and I had 3 different mentors that I paid a lot of money. They all 3 told me to buy that book and read the book. And I, of course, did not read the book. It didn't have any pictures, the fine print. It was not, I just was like, okay, I think I know what the goal is. Like, I don't know if I need to read this, but I got lots of goals. I don't know if I need to read. So I finally ended up reading the book. And it was like the 3rd person that told me to read it. I finally was like, oh, man, why haven't I read it? I read every other book everybody tells me to read. Why haven't I read this one? So I read it. And the book is about the goal of any business, just spoiler alert, is profit. And by the way, in case anybody didn't know the answer to that one, but they tell the story in the book about this troop that's going to there's a deadline they're trying to get to. They're trying to get to this campsite so they can set up camp, this Boy Scout troop. But they've got this kid, Herbie, and Herbie, if you put Herbie at the back, he falls behind. If you put him in the front, he slows everyone down. If you put him in the middle, they get separated, and they're trying to figure out how do they get this troop on pace to get to, this campsite before nightfall. And it's really just understanding, well, what do we do with Herbie? Herbie's the bottleneck. He's the reason we're slowing down. Where anywhere you put him in the process, there's a bottleneck. He becomes the bottleneck. And so they eventually figured it out, and they said, well, let's take some of the stuff out. Somebody else can carry his backpack, and let's take some of the things out of his satchel, put it in this person's, and maybe we can all get going at the same pace. Well, the biggest problem that you're going to have in real estate, if I generate you 1,000 leads, the next bottleneck is going to be, you got to get a hold of 1,000 people today. Right. And so in marketing, at every step, there's something that is either working at maximum or not working at maximum. And so with Facebook, for instance, if we're running lead ads, which we run lead ads on Facebook, and if you take somebody off of Facebook, first of all, Facebook doesn't like that. They want to keep you on the platform. So you're not getting rewarded by doing anything that's taking someone to a landing page. Right. But if you take someone to a landing page, a certain percentage of those people are just not going to fill out that information because they don't want to trade their information for what you have to offer, or it doesn't look like what it was that you put, your landing page didn't match the offer that was in the ad. It didn't sync up. Right. And so the message didn't match the market. And so for all these reasons, you land someone on that page, and if you get a 10% conversion rate and you could get a 30% conversion rate, that's a huge difference in your cost per lead. So it's not that it's not working, it's just not working to maximum. And so if you do that, and I get you, you could get 100 leads for the same ad spend, but your constraint is your ad spend. I only got $300. I don't really want to spend more than that. Okay, well, it might take you 4 months to get to a closed transaction, but with an optimized funnel, I might be able to get you there in 2 weeks, right? And so, at each step, there's operation to maximum. How do we get the maximum number of people to click? How do we get the maximum number of people to trade their information? And how do we get a hold of the maximum number of people? What's the, one of the MIT studies that's been around, and actually Mike Del Prete, I'm sure you've seen, hit some of his studies and stuff. There was a study that was done recently in real estate that backs it up. You're 106 times more likely to make contact with someone if you call them in the first 5 minutes versus the first 30 minutes. So how long does it take you to make a phone call to the lead? Are you even calling all the leads? Are you calling them once a day? Are you calling them 3 times a day? Are you calling them in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night? Or are you just calling them one time when the lead comes in? All of these things can be, there's automations, there's processes, there's things we can do, but there's effort, and then there's automations and things we can do to increase the contacted rate. Again, going back to the one metric that matters, how do I increase the number of conversations per day you have with people that want to buy and sell and are open to doing business with you, period. And so if we optimize all of these things throughout the entire funnel, the throughput, which is what the book, The Goal's about, is you can spend money at the top end and it flows out the back end in commissions. And that's just optimization is all that is. And I think most people don't really look at an entire funnel and think, how do I increase, it's a geometric impact. If you increase by 10% here, 10% here, 10% here, you get a 33% gain at the end. And so it's just understanding those. I learned all this stuff from Jay Abraham. I'm not that smart. So like, I just learned from people that were smarter than me. Okay. So like, but I, once you see the results, the truth is the truth. The math is the math. Like, you can't deny it. You can either just play stupid, or you can start focusing on making sure you improve every metric in the funnel. And so that's where we focus our effort and energy. And that's what I mean by it's not doing it wrong. It's just how are you operating at maximum? And then the same thing, to go back to wrong. Okay, well, you can run a billboard. I had a billboard that went up that I used to get one phone call. I changed it up. I got creative one time thinking I was real smart. Changed the billboard messaging up, and it looked good on the screen. Yeah, right. But then when it got up on the billboard, it was too busy, and it wasn't really a good, strong call to action. Right. I changed that billboard, and I got 8 listings from that billboard the next month. Right. So like, the message to the market has to match. You can say the wrong thing. You can, that billboard was not working at optimum. If I could get 8 listings versus 1, now my marketing is doing better because I understand, how what is the tuning fork to the message to the market in your marketing. And that's Jay Abraham 101, 80% of your result comes from your headline, so, and in today's market, if you're marketing online, the image could be, the difference between $15 and $20 cost per lead or $2 a lead. And so all of the, and we'll get into this. I know you're going to take me down this road because I can't wait to talk about it. But with AI, I used to have to guess what image was the best image. I don't have to guess anymore. I can use Big Brain, and Big Brain's going to tell me. And so you can do things much more optimized without guessing. And that today just means that you're going to make more money faster. All
right. So message to market. That's all it is.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. Message to market. Hey, listen, everybody go buy the book. Listen, this isn't me making shit up. All right. Everybody go buy the book. Dan Kennedy wrote a book. It's called Direct Response Marketing and No BS. It's in his No BS series, Direct Response Marketing. If you do not understand direct response marketing, you should never spend $1 on marketing. And so everything is in that book. It is the principles. It's the Bible of how to spend money in marketing and get business. And yes, message to the market is the most important piece of that.
Okay. So I'm a fairly successful agent, let's just say, and I'm doing a couple of deals a month, and my message is that I get the most money from my sellers, or I do this and I do that. What's my message to market, Jay?
Yeah. Well, what does the seller want, right? So nobody gives a care. Nobody cares about what you want to tell them. You want them to know that you do a great job and that you sell houses for the most amount of money. That's more like a unique selling proposition. So a unique selling proposition is why someone should do business with you versus someone else. At NAEA, that was, we have a proven repeatable system backed by market research to sell homes for up to 18% more than the methods of traditional real estate agents. Would you like for me to show you how we do that? That's a value proposition. That was a process for how we attract a higher offer versus a lower offer. And so there's over 115 variables involved in the home selling process. How we manage these variables is going to determine whether you attract a high offer or a low offer. Some of those things are in our control. Some of those things are in the seller's control, right? So that's a value. That's your value proposition. I think everyone should have one. Why should someone do business with you versus doing nothing at all or doing business with someone else? And so if you don't have that, you should have a value proposition. But the message to market, if you're a seller and you want to sell your home, what is the conversation that's going on at the dinner table right now? Hey, honey, man, we're sitting on this 3% interest rate. We've always wanted to move our kids over into Frisco and get in the Frisco school district. I just don't think we can afford to do it with interest rates at 7%. That's the conversation that seller is having right now at dinner, right? Everybody knows this, right? This is not crazy, crazy things we're talking about. But right. That's so how do you create marketing that enters the conversation in their head and helps solve that problem? And so in my market in Frisco, there are builders that are offering buy downs 3.9% financing. So if I'm running an ad by the way, can we permission to go into AI? Can we go into it?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, okay, so let me tell you how this works today. Okay, this was all guessing before, right? So like you kind of know where people are coming from, but when you run this through AI, I'm going to take a $750,000 new construction with this address, and I'm going to run it into AI, and I'm going to say, ChatGPT, tell me who are the buyers that are buying right now that are most likely to buy this home. Give me the profile of who these people are. 40% of those people live in Carrollton or the Colony, which are two older communities that they want to get their kids in the Frisco School District. Now, when I heard that, I was like, well, that makes sense. When I read it, I was like, well, I knew that. That's why I'm here. So my kids are in the Frisco School District because that's what I wanted. So I kind of knew that, but I never created content and spoke directly to those people, right? The other subset of the market, moving from California, Washington, Oregon, dual income family, tech job, just moving here, working for Toyota, Dr. Pepper Keurig, or one of these other big companies here in a tech job. So they have a different set of hopes, fears, desires, concerns than this other subset of the market. And so once we know that, okay, here's their hopes, fears, desires, concerns, now we can start to create content that's relevant to who those people are. So for instance, and we have ChatGPT do all this. So it's going to say, hey, give me 10 videos, benefit rich headline, bullet points for us to create content that's going to speak directly to their concerns. And so that first video might be for this person that lives in Carrollton or the Colony, is the top 3 things you should know before ever moving your kids into the Frisco School District. They're going to click on that. Like 100% of them are, right? Like now we're getting down to, okay, and here's what happens if, I think social media content and content strategy is like, it's an elusive thing, right? Like, what should I do? Go do a video of my open house, running through it, all these people, there's and I always feel stupid doing stuff like that. I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm not even sure who the hell is going to see this. And I don't even know if I want anybody to see it, like, there's all these, but there's no, that we're waiting for the algorithm gods to show this to the right people. Well, that's great. I guess if you got a big enough following and or you tag it perfectly and, the algorithm gods treat you fairly, that's great. But what if you knew 100 people, but out of that 100, maybe 10 of these people are this exact profile and they are the most likely person to buy a home? You would talk directly to those 10 people and forget about the other 90. We just want to talk to the 10 we know that are these people with this set of challenges, hopes, fears, desires, concerns.
Right.
And so now we can create really good content that really resonates. I don't care about the 90 people that don't fit that that profile. But the one that does is going to go, oh my God, they get me, right? There's a connection that can happen. And so now instead of just generating leads, we're actually able to very specifically target and get them to know, like, and trust you. The problem with doing business with strangers is there's 1 or 2 ways you're going to build rapport. You spoke to them and you built enough rapport on that call, and now you have the opportunity to win that business.
Right.
Or they could consume content that was super relevant that made them more likely to respond to a call, text, email, or just pick up the phone and call you because you are the go-to person for the situation that they're in. And that is how we're marrying content strategy to lead generation. And now we can do that without guessing. And so, before it was like, okay, well, we think it's these people that are buying and selling. You'd be amazed. In Jersey, obviously, we've run these ads in everywhere in the U.S., Canada, even Portugal. We're about to do Peru. Like, this stuff works anywhere. It's not, it's not rocket science. Every buyer, has hopes, fears, desires, and every seller does too. And so those principles don't change. That just the market does, right? So in Jersey, you guys have an interesting market. Like, you have a lack of inventory. That's not the case. Most markets I'm talking to, there's now starting to get more and more inventory where you guys still have not as much inventory there. But if you run this through ChatGPT, I can almost certainly tell you that the people that are buying are coming from Philly. They're coming from New York. They're getting outside and buying for cheaper than what they can afford to live. And that's one of probably the larger profiles. Now, that's a guess. I wouldn't just run an ad based on that. I would run this through ChatGPT and I'd know for sure. But we've never been able to get that kind of information at our fingertips and then flip that into, okay, well, these are their hopes, fears, desires, concerns, and so much detailed information that we can now speak differently to those people. And it's like a tuning fork, right? When they watch that video, they're like, oh my God, this person gets me. It's almost like, you know, when you're talking to somebody about something and you pick up your phone and there's a Facebook ad for that same thing you were just talking about, you're like, how the hell they're listening to us, right? It's like that, except it's not creepy, right? It's just like, you know, it's just not creepy. That's a big difference. But yeah, it's, you know, that is, and again, like my goal is I don't just want to generate a bunch of leads and then chase. I want to build a wall, and we're going to lay one brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. And we're going to extract as much as we can out of that. And soon we'll have a wall, right? We'll build the wall, but let's start by laying one brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. This should be able to produce over time 3 deals, 4 deals a month consistently with a small budget. And so that's where I find most agents need help, is they know they need to do something, but they get stuck in the overwhelm of, okay, go ahead now tell me again, let me watch these 15 videos and log into my Facebook ad manager and see if I don't want to blow my brains out by the end of the day. That stuff is all the brain damage part. And that's what amazes me about this industry. It's like, historically, moving brokerage is like, okay, I'm over here trying to figure out. You want me to just come over there and try to figure it out, and that's going to be better? Like, that's how agents think about brokerages, because you know that nobody's going to actually help you. Now, there's a lot of empty promises, and people say they're going to help you, and you get over there and they're like, they didn't help you at all. I'm still over here trying to figure it out. Unless you can start actually helping people with the thing that they need help with, then there's no reason to change brokerages. Like, you should stay where you're at. You're just figuring it out. You're going to have to figure it out no matter where you go, until you find someone that's willing to actually help you. And I just know that in my business, the things that I can't do and that I'm not good at, I hired people to do for me. And if I have those people do it for me, why would I not have them do it for you, so you don't have to go through the same challenge? And so that's how we've evolved to attracting more agents, is we're just getting down to like understanding exactly what your biggest challenge is and removing that obstacle. Most everybody that's watching this, I'll guarantee you, if the phone rings with a buyer or seller, you can take it from there. Like if we can just get that to happen for you, you're going to go sell more real estate. It's not that you don't know how to sell real estate. It's you don't know how to get the phone to ring. And that is the problem. That's the core of the kernel that we want to try to solve for an agent. And if we do that, they're going to be successful. Even brand new agents. Like, you know, most people that get into real estate, if you got a little bit of life experience, people are just people. You're just trying to help somebody with what they're trying to do. And it's not hard. And so getting the phone to ring, that's a little different problem to try to solve. And I think, you know, there's way too many companies out there. I hate most of them. And, you know, I've done business with a lot of them, and I know some of their policies on, well, we're not giving you your money back, you know, no matter what. We did what we said we're going to do. They're, you know, and they're just not, you know, they're not in alignment. The person selling you whatever they're selling you gets paid a commission for you to say yes. They don't have any skin in the game to make sure that you're going to be successful with it. And that's just, you know, unfortunately, we get a good commission, and we're like, all right, dang it, the Zillow guy called me. You know, that Zillow salespeople are great, by the way. You know, they're great salespeople anyway. You know, sell you the zip code, you know, 40 miles away from where you want to do business. And, you know, it sounds like a good thing to do at the time. And then, you know, next thing you know, you've blown, you know, 20 grand this year on Zillow leads. And so, you know, I just despise that. So like, I just want to disrupt and I want you in control. Let's have a knob we can turn up and down and be in control of our own business. I don't want to be dependent on a brokerage. I don't want no damn referral fees. I don't want none of that shit. I want to be in control, so I can know where my business is coming from. So I can look down and next month I've got these 5 people that are coming in. And after that, I know I've got these 3 people, these 2 people I just put under contract. And the cool thing about this too, Dave, is the sweet spot. So when we ask ChatGPT what the sweet spot in the market is, it's often not a first-time home buyer. So that means that most of these people have homes to sell. So this buyer lead strategy, which is a super low cost lead, and we're talking $3 to $5 cost per lead. I can do it just about anywhere. But at that lead cost, we're generating seller opportunities. Now, if you said, Jay, give me I just want to go get listings, and I had to create a campaign to go just get listing opportunities, cost per lead is going to be extremely high. It's hard to do if you're just trying to get sellers. But if you understand that some of these sellers are also buyers, you can generate a buyer and a seller at the same time, and it's way, way, way more effective. And so it's just, you know, again, it's years and years and years of beating on this craft of learning marketing that's enabled us to do it. But with ChatGPT, it's just like, it's not even fair. I mean, it's not even fair. It just works so much better when you know. It's like, you know, when you have confidence that what you're doing is the right thing, you don't veer off the path and go try something new. And I can just tell you, like, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. I mean, ChatGPT, I mean, we all use it and treat it like it's God. I know that, but like when you really use it to get clear on understanding who your target market is, not everybody's buying right now. The people that have to buy and sell who are those people in your market? What do they represent? What are their hopes, fears, and desires? How do I reach them as an audience? And how do I speak to them so that they can see me as the solution to help them accomplish their goal? That's the game.
So let's look at agents. There's a lot of different questions that come up in my head, and I hope I can remember several of them at least, right? So you've got agents that, let's look at it. In 2024, 71% of agents in NAR did not do a deal. 71%. It's crazy, right?
Yep.
So, and then you got agents that are doing deals, and you got agents that are buying all these different things that you mentioned that you did and I've done. And
Yep.
I'm going to say that a good 50 to 60% of them they buy the shit and don't use it. I don't understand why. Hey, look, I was one of them, right? And then they're saying, well, why do you know about ChatGPT? I can do the same thing. What do I need Jake Kinder for? Or what do I need another thing for? Or how come I can't do it? Why can't I just ask him the same question?
And you could, I could send you 10 videos, that goes through, you've seen, the webinar that I do where I teach this stuff, right?
Yep.
And there's the thing that we miss. And I can tell you, just because, like, unless you have put your 10,000 hours in marketing, you're not going to understand why certain things are a certain way. And an example of that, and I may have even shared this on the last show we had, was when I had a coach that was telling me to follow a script, and I thought I was following the script. I recorded my calls. We listened to it. I'm like, see, I followed the script. He said, no, you didn't. Play it again. And I listened to it again, and I changed it up a little bit. I did not understand I was changing up the context so much so that the script was not going to work. That didn't even seem like a real thing to me. Like that,
right.
I followed the script as far as I was concerned. He said, follow the damn script and let's talk next week. That week I set, I don't even know the number of appointments, but it was insane. Like, it was so night and day difference. And it was because something I just didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know, right? I was unconsciously incompetent. And I think when it comes to marketing, you can think you could go do all these things, but you don't know the things that I know because you haven't spent the money and made the mistakes that I've made to learn some of that stuff. And so little things like, telling people what to do. This is an old school marketing playbook. Gary Halbert, some of these guys from years and years ago that used to do direct response marketing, and they would do mail order stuff, and how you get someone to put a check in an envelope and buy something through direct mail is an absolute science. And one of the little things that you have to do is you have to tell people what to do. Get out an envelope, lick it, write a check, sign your name to it, put the amount on it.
I did it. That's how I used to buy shit. That's how I used to do it. I'm showing my age, but shit, I did that for fucking years.
Right. And that one little thing, if you didn't tell them walk to the mailbox, stick it in the mailbox, turn the flag up. Like, you had to do all these things to get someone to take out. You had to literally spell it out. And it sounds silly and it sounds stupid, but just the learn more button on Facebook. If I don't say above the fold, what I mean above the fold, but above the before it goes, you have to click the open to read more, click the learn more button. If you don't say that, they scroll past it. It might be 10 or 15% difference. It's just a small little tweak, right? But that 10 or 15% plus the next 10 or 15% plus the next 10 or 15%, it's all of those things that are the reason that I can get you leads at a quarter of the cost that anyone else can. So you're going to go out and do this. We just tried to teach people to do it. And they would come to us and they'd be like, dude, man, why are my leads $22 per lead? We log in, we look at everything, and we're like, well, we need to fix this. We need to fix that. It's like trying to be a mechanic on your own car. You might think you know what you're doing, but you probably don't. Right. And so, it's just, until you have that level of expertise, you're not going to see all the reasons why something might not be working. And if you're like me, I almost canceled my coaching and canceled the lead gen that I was doing. That ended up being one of the best things I ever did in my business, all because I just didn't know I wasn't coachable, right? I wasn't following the process. And so rather than me try to teach people to be an expert in marketing, I don't expect that. I don't think that any of us really actually want to become an expert in marketing. You just want the phone to ring. Get people that know what they're doing to do it for you. Like that's the truth. And I think, it's really a lost art. I think most people just don't really truly become master marketers. Alex Hormozian is, I'll tell you that. He might go down as the greatest marketer of all time after his little book launch. But
that was pretty amazing. Yes, it was.
Yeah, man, just wild. Every principle of everything I've ever learned, he just displayed the whole thing all at once. It was brilliant. I mean, it was just brilliantly done. But you got to become a student of the game of marketing if you want to, really learn these things. But if you have the right people around you that can do it for you, that's the shortcut, right? And so that's what we do. I don't want you to go through the brain damage of figuring this stuff out. And most people don't want to do that. Like, you don't want to have to learn how to use Facebook Ad Manager. To be honest, I don't either. Like, if I go in there, I'm going to screw it up. But that's why I have experts to do it for me, right? So that's how I grew my business. It's not because I was technical and doing these things. I understood the principles and hired people that could do the things that I was not good at, didn't like doing, and probably $1 per hour wasn't worth my time. And so now we can just do that at scale.
So you said earlier, you were talking about your scripts and your coach was telling you went off script, et cetera, right? So I've seen so many times where I said, okay, this is the way this is done. This is what this postcard should look like, or this is what works. This is what we've been given. And so many people, well, I didn't like that word, or I didn't like the way that looks. So I changed the color, or I changed this. And then they come back and say, well, that shit doesn't work.
Right.
So, I mean, so many times, and I will tell you that Dan Beer has said this, Kyle Whistle has said this, you have said this, Cheplack has said this, all these greats have said, just follow the damn script. And when we talk scripts, we're talking words, but we're also talking about what you're talking about as far as it's not only words. Script means a lot. It doesn't mean only, this is what you're going to say. It's also the process and the context of what you're doing, right? So it's really important to follow context. So talk to me how you bring an agent in. Like, okay, so you got a brand new agent. Let's talk about a brand new agent, right? And they want to grow a business and they say, Jay, I'm interested. Can you help me? What's the process? And I think this process, correct me if I'm wrong, but the process basically be the same for a brand new agent or an experienced agent, wouldn't it be?
Yeah. The metrics. So here's, I had somebody that joined me. They're still with me at EXP. They've been here 7 years, and I'll never forget our first 5 conversations. Well, I need to learn about mortgage. I need to learn about title. I need to learn about this. She still ain't ever sold a house. She's still learning the game of real estate. And as I said, until you start talking to buyers, you're going to figure out how to write a contract. If you get a buyer, I promise you will figure out how to write the contract. Let's get in conversations with people that want to buy and sell. And again, that metric is the only metric that matters. Conversations per day. You want to change anything in your life, change something you do daily. How many conversations a day did you have with people that want to buy and sell and are open to doing business with you? If you had none today, then you ain't selling anything anytime soon, right? And so that is fundamentally everything I always break things down to is, are we getting to that or are we not? So if you're a brand new agent, it's going to be, you're going to probably have marbles in your mouth for the first 10 conversations. But as soon as we get past that, you're going to sell a house. And so, it's real, it's on the job training. We're going to talk to people and you're going to screw it up. And you know what? The only way to success is failure. There is no other way. You will suck before you become great at anything. So you might as well just get all the suck out of the way as quickly as possible. Get them on the phone. I'll tell you a quick story. This is crazy. So just so happens a good friend of mine, Ryan Finch, is in town. Actually, he actually flew in my jet, picked him up, brought him back to Dallas for an event where Grant Cardone was speaking. And he bought tickets to a Mavericks game as a way of saying thank you. And so it was me and Riggs and one of his friends and Ryan in the car. And this guy just gets his real estate license. It was an Uber, Suburban. It's an hour drive to the game. And he's bragging about real estate. Like he hit the Uber ride jackpot. Okay. Ryan Finch used to sell 1,000 homes a year. I used to sell 500 a year. Like if there's anybody that could help this guy, it was us. And he was just talking about, he's got his license. He interviewed 9 different brokers. He's going with this one. He's excited. And so I said, man, what's your goal? He said, I don't want to drive Uber. And I said, how many homes do you need to sell to do that? He said, if I make 15 grand a month, I'll never do it again. I said, all right. I said, I want you to go back to that broker. I want you to ask him, from day 1 to day 90, what's the plan to get you to never have to drive Uber again? And so he's like, all right. And so we told him a little bit about what we do. He was very interested, but he's a very loyal guy. He felt like he committed. And I was like, I didn't want to break a commitment and feel like, he was doing something he didn't feel morally was right. So he felt committed to this broker. He goes and asks that question, and the broker gets furious. Like, well, if you think they're more valuable, you can just go with them. And basically lets him go. He comes over. I have his ads built. On day 3, we do a review. We just look and say, hey, are the leads coming in? Is the cost per lead right? Have we had a couple conversations yet? Making sure they know how to use the tool, that kind of stuff. And he's like, in his words, I've got a buyer and a seller, someone selling a house and buying a house. Now, he had life experiences that made it where he was able to have those conversations. He wasn't like new to real estate. He was a person that had enough life experiences that you can have those conversations.
Right.
So, not skilled at it, but definitely was able to have it. Now, to me, I'm like, you think you had a buyer and a seller, but maybe you do, maybe you don't, is kind of what I was thinking. But then he had another buyer. So he had 3 people in the first 3 days. It ended up being on day 5 because it fell on a weekend. But in 5 days, he had how many ever number of leads it was, but 3 really good, solid conversations he's working. He's now been with us 4 months, and he's got 11 either pending or sold as of last week. Brand new. Now, had he gone to that other broker with no plan and no system and nobody to talk to, he would be sitting over there like every other agent that didn't sell a house in a year, going, man, what should I do? What's the next move? How do I get customers? That's literally what everybody thinks. Right. And so, but that's it. It's just a process. I'm turning on the thing that you need. And that is, you need to have conversations with people that want to buy and sell. And that's fundamentally, whether you're new, you've been doing it forever. I talk to agents all day, every day. So most of the agents I talk to, man, most of my business has always been sphere of influence, repeat, and referral. I know I need to do something because it's not enough and it's not predictable and it's not consistent enough, but I don't know what to do. I tried this, I tried that, and these things didn't work. And I was like, well, that sounds about like every experience I ever had. So, that's where we can solve that problem is come in and do this for you. Get the tools are provided by EXP. You don't got to go buy a CRM. You don't need to be told what to do because we know what to do. So you don't need to pay us for coaching. You don't even need to implement it because my team will implement it for you. So like that, if I just turn that on, it's like being in the dark and we turn the light switch on, you're going to eventually sell houses, or you probably should get out of the business. Like if you, and it's easy to measure, right? So, okay, You got 100 leads. How many people did you speak to? Well, looks like you spoke to 10 in the system. All right. Well, then, we're not talking to enough people. When are you making your calls? Well, I try to call at 5:00 in the evenings every night. Okay. Then call them at the minute the lead comes in. You're 106 times more likely. If we can get that to 30, you're going to sell one. If you get to 30%, you'll sell one. If you don't get to 30%, you might sell one in 2 months, right? So we're trying to speed up the process of enough conversations to get to that one that's ready to do business right now. And so it's just the numbers. I mean, I hate saying it's a numbers game because it's not. It is a people game. It's a relationship game. But the numbers lead to the relationships. And so you got to have something in place. You got to have one pillar that is turning strangers into conversations for you. And if you don't have that, and I talked to a lady yesterday, Dave. Bless her heart, she's a badass. And she's doing open houses. She does 3 to 5 open houses every week. And all the agents in the office are telling her, it's just this, it's hot right now. People just aren't moving, when it gets cools off, and where she's in Arizona. So I don't know if that's true or not, but most markets do pick up in the summertime. I mean, historically. So maybe that isn't the case where she's at, and it's so hot that nobody's going to buy anything. I said, but what you're basically, she's increasing conversations per day the hard way by putting up signs and sitting in an open house for 3 hours and doing that 3 to 5 times a week. And she sold a house. And so like she's putting in the effort because she doesn't have a better way to do it. That's the only thing that she knows. That's what get on floor time or go do open houses. That's how you be successful in real estate. That's still what people are telling people to do. And so she's going to be, I told her, I said, listen, you're going to be, she joined them just like less than a month ago. I said, you're going to be successful because you're doing whatever it takes. I'm just telling you, there is a better way. And so, at some point you're going to get tired of being told to do things that don't make sense. Like the next thing they're telling her to do is shoot a bunch of videos for content. I'm like, Okay, well, that sounds like something to do, right? But you're doing it going, how the hell is this going to work? And what's the actual measurable impact of me doing this? And is it going to result in a conversation? If it doesn't, then don't do it. It's not worth doing. And so, that's just, again, I think maybe I oversimplify it, but it's not that complex.
So we're talking about content here. We're hoping to get conversations out of the content. We're doing ads, and we're hoping to get people to raise their hand to connect with you, right? So how does okay? So I know a lot of people that make a lot of calls every day. I know a number of new agents that are making calls like freaking crazy and really not getting much business over the past couple of months.
Yep.
They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're doing what they're told to do. Is it their communication? Is it the way they talk, or is it the quality of the person they're talking to?
It's probably the quality of the person they're talking to. To be truthful, you got going back to understanding who are the people that have to buy and have to sell. There's not as many sales as there has been in years past. But they're buying. There's people out there in every marketplace, every time of year that are buying right now and are selling right now. And then you go look at the MLS every day, they're happening. So there's people that are doing it. Who are those people? When you understand who those people are, what are their situations? What are they going through? Why did they have to sell? Why did they have to buy something? Or why did they buy something? If you're just going to call randomly a bunch of people, it's going to take forever for you to find that one right person. It just the numbers are not in your favor. You're going to have to talk to a lot of people, kiss a lot of frogs. But if you're doing marketing, you can speak directly to them. And so if I know that 42% of the people that are buying in Frisco at $650,000 property, new construction, probably a little more than that, actually. If I know that is a large segment of the people that are moving, trying to get their kids in Frisco school district, and I run an ad of an image of new construction that says 3.9% financing, these new construction homes must sell fast, I am targeting the people that are really wanting to make a move. Like, I want my kids in this school district. There's people that'll make the move. They've been sitting on the fence. They didn't know they could get 3.9% financing. Now they do. Now their interest is up. And so what happens is they land on a page full of new construction, but it doesn't tell them who's offering what incentives. So what are you as the agent able to do? When you do call them, you're like, hey, I noticed that you clicked on our new construction ad. Are you looking, what got you interested in looking at new construction? Well, we want to get our kids in Frisco school district. What's this 3.9% financing about? So, well, there's 10 different builders and 10 different communities, and they all have different offers that they make. These three in particular are offering a buy down of the rate to 3.9% financing. Would you like to go see a property? That's a way easier phone call to have, right? Like, that's just, anybody can have that conversation. And so I think that's another little nuance in this is that, the new construction funnel, we don't do it in New Jersey because y'all don't have any new construction. Y'all got a city, y'all got a city on every exit. Every exit ramp is a new city in New Jersey, but not a damn new house anywhere. But, so in some markets we can run new construction. And in your market, we run just listed because there's not much inventory and people are waiting for the new inventory. And so you just have to understand a little bit about the market. But I think that it's just inefficient to just make a bunch of phone calls to a bunch of random people, hoping that you might have to talk to 1,000 people to get to the one that's that's in that scenario. And in this, we can really target specifically who we're trying to attract. And that makes the value of, we say quality of lead, but there's still going to be 100 leads and only 10 of those are probably real potential deals.
True.
So I don't care about
the most important part everybody needs to understand what we're talking about is we really didn't say it as much, but it's all about AI and how you're leveraging it to know where that ad needs to go or who you need to talk to. And not only using AI once you connect with that person, but to use the AI about that person to figure more out and how you can build rapport and get better at it. Talk to me. We're up on time, man, but just hit that real quick for me. About how AI is going to help you target and everything else.
Yeah. So you take the price. So first of all, you say, go to AI and say, in the city of Frisco, Texas, what is the sweet spot in the market? If I was going to be running ads on Facebook, what is the sweet spot? What price point? And then get me an image of a property that would be the best image I could use to represent that type of property. Now, tell me the most likely buyers that are going to be clicking on this ad. What is the profile of that buyer? What is their situation? What is their hopes, their fears, desires, concerns? And why are they making this move where many people are not moving? Why are these people wanting to make this move? And then once it gives you that, what it gives you is crazy. It's crazy. Like dual income family, ages 46. They just moved from here. They grew up in this town. Like it's wild. So like it really gives you a lot of information to start thinking about how to talk to them different. And then I say, now give me 12 valuable, content-rich videos that I can shoot and put in a follow-up sequence that are going to speak directly to those hopes, fears, desires, and concerns. Now you have content you can create that's very specific to a very specific, most likely person that's going to buy now, right? And so it's really that simple. I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, when you do it, it's kind of mind blowing the information it gives you, but you're going to have a lot of confidence. It's going to tell you what percentage of the buyers are coming from. I knew people were moving from California to Frisco. That wasn't new to me, but I never thought to create content and only talk to them. Right. When you create content, I'm like, oh, what do I say? No, I'm talking to, if I ran a radio ad in DFW, for instance, and it's going to cover Dallas, Fort Worth, and every city in between. I don't know how many cities there are, but there's a bunch of them. But if I want to talk to somebody in Frisco, I'm going to be Frisco home sellers. There's something if I say Frisco, everyone else tunes out. People in Frisco tune in, right? This is for me. I live in Frisco. What's that about, right? So you want to speak to the person you're trying to speak to, not to everyone. It's not find out what your home is worth. DFWHomevalues.com. It's like, find out what's happening in Frisco. Are the prices going up or down? Go to FriscoHomevalues.com. That people in Frisco are going to do that. If you're too broad, you're not specific enough to be that tuning fork for that person to actually listen to the message. And so those are just the little tidbits. And again, every medium it works the same. All these different mediums: direct mail, radio, TV, social media. It's all message to market, and it's all frequency versus reach. I don't care if 10,000 people hear the message. I would rather have 500 people hear the message 50 times so that I become top of mind and they think of me, right? And so all of these things are, I've done it all wrong. So I'm qualified to speak on this because I can tell you how to waste a lot of money with things that don't work. And what I've learned is what does work.
So, man, look, we could go on and on. We're up against time. I want to thank you so much for being on today. This has been fantastic. Look, anybody who wants to get in touch with Jay, his contact information is on the screen. Next week, we've got Suneet Agarwal coming on, who is a recruiter, who's just a great real estate mind. We'll have him on next week. I think we had, here he is. There's his promo, CEO of Best Sac Homes Group and Big Block Realty North, as well as co-founder of Reside. So that's something we'd like to talk about. But anyway, Jay, thanks so much. 2 questions really quickly. One, how do I help you grow your business?
Man, put me in touch with anybody who wants help, like that, anybody that wants my help. I am fortunate and blessed to wake up every day and get to help people and not ask for money. And it's a blessing. It's a blessing for me. I enjoy it. And so I just want people that I'm looking for the people that are looking for me. The second thing you could do for me is get me one of those blue hats.
You got it, man. It's coming to you next week. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for being on, Jay. Next week, we got Suneet. Stay on for 1 second, if you could, Jay, after we finish. Nelson, Hit it.